Welcome back to AFL Advance. This is week number 3. We still have 5 games to go in week 3, but given the timing of when we're going to advance on Sunday, this is the best opportunity for me to pump out another episode. So there's 5 unplayed games, but 2 of those games already have a decided result. SJR's Jaguars are going to get a force win over the CPU Texans, and Sham's Jets are going to get a force win over Lad Russo's Bengals. Lad was having some internet issues, so Sham's getting the win there. Now let's explain the Texans issue real quick, because we had a bunch of owner changes over the last couple weeks that a lot of them revolved around Josh Garland. So to clean that up, Garland was the Bears, and then the old Texans owner, Philly, left the league, and Garland opted to go to the Texans to help balance out the conferences as far as CPU teams versus human teams. But then after his first game with the Texans, Garland left AFL due to a dispute with Reese. So now the Texans are open. The Bears have actually been filled, though, by Shaker. He's a guy that Nino brought in from PS4. So we still only have one open team, but that open team is now the Texans. And the Broncos have been filled. Mega is back. So 31 teams, 1 CPU team. Not bad for the end of May, as it's Memorial Day weekend. So let's talk about the 3 games that are left to be played. We have Justin's Redskins going against Cheese Jr.'s Lions. We have Danny Sanchez's 49ers going against E-Dub's Titans. Big game for both of these guys. And then we have KJ's Packers going against Shaker's Bears. Now, I believe Justin and Cheese Jr. are going to try to play Sunday morning around 9 a.m. That seems to fit within their window. Danny and E-Dub are going to try to play tonight. And KJ and Shaker, I don't know if they've had any contact. I haven't checked the page in a while. This game between Cheese Jr. and Justin is a big game for Justin in particular, because he's 0-2 and guaranteed the playoffs. And if you go to 0-3, I think you can kiss that guarantee goodbye. For the 49ers, Danny Sanchez, I believe he's off to a 1-2 start. A 1-1 start. We'll take a look at the standings. Maybe we just click back through and see real quick. We're going to take a look at the standings after we look at all these games. But he did lose week 1 to Luca, and then week 2 he did beat Bailey. So he's 1-1. So still, though, for a guy who was in the NFC title game, you don't want to fall to 1-2. But the challenge ahead of him is E-Dub. These are the 2 teams that were within an eyelash of meeting in the Super Bowl last year. Both of them fell a field goal short. So both of these teams are looking to get a fast start this year, and E-Dub is 2-0 as he has beaten Prime's Cardinals, and he also beat the Texans when Philly was running them, so that should be an interesting game. And then I don't know anything about Shaker. Nino says he's good, but KJ is coming off a loss to Joker. So just to predict these games, I'm going to say Cheese Jr. finds a way to beat Justin. I'm going to say that E-Dub, unfortunately for Danny Sanchez, gets a victory over Danny Sanchez and improves to 3-0. I think E-Dub's just in the zone right now. And I'm going to say KJ beats the new guy, Shaker, because no disrespect to Shaker, but until I know something about you, it's hard for me to predict you to beat one of the best guys in AFL. Speaking of one of the best guys in AFL, the reigning Super Bowl champion Nino, 44-8 over Swag's Cleveland Browns. Nino has just been throttling teams all season long. 8 points is actually the most he's given up all year. He gave up 3 points in both week 1 and week 2, and his Vikings smashed the Browns on the road to improve to 3-0, and Swag's Browns are still searching for that first win of the season. JD's Falcons improved to 2-1 with a 19-7 victory over Shadow's Carolina Panthers. Shadows had a tough start to the season. He's played against Nino, JD, and Cheese Jr., all 3 teams that were playoff caliber last year. JD and Nino both made the playoffs. Cheese Jr. was just on the outside, and Nino obviously won the bowl. So tough start to Shadow's season. He's been close in the last 2 games. He did get blown out by Nino, but it seems like he's starting to get his game figured out. Lost in overtime to Cheese Jr. week 2, so maybe Shadow can get some wins put together here as the season rolls along. MVP's Buccaneers continue to roll, getting their second win over the Saints in the past 3 weeks, 27-9 this time over Guru Saints. The Saints fall to 0-3, and the Bucs improve to a very impressive 3-0 record. Luca's Colts take their first loss of the season to Dan Quinton's Ravens. The Ravens are undefeated on the season, 38-21. The Ravens get the victory, and like I said, for Luca, he falls to 2-1. Still a winning record on the year, but does take his first loss. Stokes' Oakland Raiders get a 38-13 victory over Anthony Scorzo's Philadelphia Eagles. Anthony's a new guy. If you have a nickname you want me to call you by, I see your PS4 name is Play to Win. Until I hear otherwise, I'll just call you Anthony. Maybe Nino or JD or somebody will tell me what you like to go by, but for now, we'll just call you Anthony. But Stokes' Raiders 3-0, 38-13, as Stokes is just crushing guys to start the season. He blew out Reese week 2 and follows it up with a blowout victory over the Eagles. The Raiders improved to 3-0, and the Eagles fall to 1-2. This one felt good for Reese, 42-14 over Pick 6's San Diego Chargers. Pick 6 had made a lot of noise about the fact that Reese hadn't beaten him yet in Madden 16. Well, Reese got over that hump in a big way with a 28-point victory over the Chargers. Reese improves to 2-1, and Pick 6 falls to 2-1, as he did have the 2 victories in week 1 and 2. Mustangs Cowboys continue their roller coaster ride as they win week 1, lose week 2, and then they win a close one week 3 over Romans Rams. For Mustang, he improves to 2-1. But the interesting thing about this game is Roman's Rams fall to 0-3 on the year. If we can just take a quick look at what's happened to Roman this season, this is a guy that we all thought that Madden got tiebreakers wrong, should have been in the playoffs last year. Week 1 gets his doors blown off by Cheese. Week 2, he, I believe, had a lead against Josh Garland's Texans. Let's see if we can find that game. Had the lead and then choked it away, ends up losing 40-28. And then week 3 loses to Stang 17-16. So the Rams are 0-3, and that hole to me is just too big to dig out of in the NFC West. Good start to the season by Stang, 17-16 win, 2-1. I think he might be kicking himself about this loss to the Eagles last week, because the Eagles have not been impressive in their 2 other games this year. But it is what it is. Stang's 2-1. He certainly has a good opportunity to make some noise this year and make a playoff run. The team he's chasing in that division, though, Stop Cheesin', is on a roll, 34-16 over Mega's Broncos. Cheese improves to 3-0. The Broncos fall to 0-3, but only 0-1 under Mega. They were computer-owned the first 2 weeks of the year. Big victory by Joker Steelers this week to improve to 2-1 over my Buffalo Bills, and I know this one had to feel good for Joker. My Bills were the ones that eliminated him the last 2 seasons in the playoffs, and also had beaten him last year in the regular season. Just from a confidence standpoint, trying to get past his nemesis, a big win for the Steelers, plus the fact that they lost week 1, they beat KJ week 2, and they had me week 3, and then Stokes coming up week 4. So a murderer's row schedule. Now Joker has put himself in position to go 3-1 in that horrible schedule. And if he did that, that would be championship level. But at very worst, now he's going to go 2-2 in that brutal schedule start that they had. This game had a crazy fourth quarter as Prime's Arizona Cardinals fall to Bailey's Seattle Seahawks 21-16. And this one, they both had a chance to capitalize and win at the end, but they both threw some pretty mind-numbing interceptions, and Bailey's Seahawks pull it out, improve to 2-1 on the year. And for Prime falls to 2-1. Prime actually falls to 1-2 as he's lost back-to-back games. He lost to Edub last week and loses to Bailey this week. Cody, unfortunately, was gone the first 2 weeks of the year. He's back this week, but he falls to Johnny Parkhurst, New England Patriots. And don't look now, but the Patriots are 2-1, and Cody is now going to try to dig out of that 0-2 hole when he was away, and this isn't the start he wanted as he loses his first user game, 24-28 to the Patriots. Big win for Johnny Parkhurst, though, knocking off a guy who's always in the playoffs in AFL, and now he's 2-1. And with the Dolphins losing last week to the Raiders and my Bills losing to the Steelers this week, that means the 3 teams in the AFC East, the Patriots, the Bills, and the Dolphins, are all 2-1, so everything's in front of him as far as the division goes. And that is a look at what happened in week 3. We still have the 3 games left to go. Let's take a look at the standings now, as the AFC North, Ravens 3-0, Steelers 2-1. The other 2 teams in the division still searching for their first victories on the year. I am absolutely excited about seeing the first time the Ravens and Steelers go head-to-head. In the AFC South, Edub's Titans are undefeated. They still have to play Danny Sanchez. Luca's Colts took their first loss of the year, and the Texans right now are ownerless, so they're going to fall out of the picture there. And SJR's Jaguars are going to get their first win of the season this week against the Texans with a forced loss. But right now, the way E-Dub's playing, I'd be surprised if any of those teams really challenge him. I thought it might be SJR's year, but he's just not playing good football right now. I don't know what the deal is with him, but he had a terrible finish to last season, and he's had an equally bad start to this season. The AFC East is jumbled at the top as the Bills, the Patriots, and the Dolphins are all sitting at 2-1, and the Bills and Dolphins play this week, so one of those teams is going to fall to 2-2. And I'm not sure who the Patriots play yet. We'll see that when we take a look at the Week 4 schedule. And then there's Shams Jets, who are going to get to 1-2 with a forced win over Lad Russo. AFC West has been all about Stokes the first 2 seasons of AFL Restart, and it appears it's heading that way again as Stokes' Raiders are 3-0. Pick 6 falls to 2-1 with the blowout loss to Reese, and then the other 2 teams in the division are still searching for their first win of the season. Let's take a look at the NFC now. As it's Cheese Jr. and Nino are undefeated. We have the Bears sitting at 1-1, but they've had some ownership changes, so that's a wild card team right there. And then KJ's 1-1, and KJ plays the Bears this week. The loser of that game is going to fall multiple games behind Nino, and you don't want to. That's not a guy you want to be chasing because he's not going to have many slip-ups. So big win, big opportunity here for the new Bears owner to knock KJ down a couple pegs and really have him sweating. And Cheese Jr. is undefeated so far. He's going to try to keep that streak going tomorrow morning against Justin Thomas. MVP's Bucks are perfect on the year in the NFC South, and they lead the way so far. JD's Falcons a game behind at 2-1, and the other 2 teams are searching for their first victories on the year. NFC West, we have Bailey's Seahawks leading the way at 2-1. Both Cardinals and the 49ers have 1 win, but the Cardinals have already played this week, so they're 1-2. Danny Sanchez's 49ers will either be 2-1 or 1-2, depending on the outcome against E-Dub's Titans. And then Romans Rams, one of the more disappointing teams this year, 0-3 so far this season. And then the NFC East, Cheese's Giants lead the way like normal, 3-0. The Cowboys are 2-1, and then the Eagles 1-2, and then Justin Thomas's Redskins are 0-2. But they still have to play this week, so we'll see what happens in that game. Alright, let's predict some games as we have Week 4. We're going to be at the quarter pole mark of the season number 3 of AFL Restart. I think after you get through 4 weeks, you can finally start to see the shape of the season, how the divisions are at least starting to shake out, which teams are going to pave the way and become contenders, and which teams are going to fall back. The teams that are 1-3 and 0-4, they big holes to dig out of. You really want to be 500 or better after Week 4, and some of these teams here on this list are going to have to win this week to at least be at 500. One of those teams is Prime's Cardinals, 1-2 start to the season, and this week they're on the road against Anthony Scorzo's Eagles. I like Prime to win this game. Prime's not a guy that's used to losing. He's on a 2-game losing streak. Can't remember the last time I've seen him lose 3 in a row. I think he's going to get back to basics. I think he's going to run the ball with Derrick Henry. I think the Cardinals win and probably win big this week in Philadelphia. Cheese Jr.'s Lions are going to be on the road against Dan Quinn's Ravens. Dan Quinn is playing some really good football right now. I think he knows that Joker has a tough schedule, and he's taking advantage of that right now and padding a lead in the AFC North. What Dan Quinn can't do, though, is have a let-up game. And I'm not saying that Cheese Jr. is a guy he should beat. I think these guys are very even. But if you're at home and you're trying to make a statement and make the playoffs this year, this is a game you need to win against an equal competition at home. I think Dan Quinn gets it done, and I think the Ravens start the season 4-0, and Cheese Jr. gets his first loss of the year, or maybe his second loss, depending on what happens in his Week 3 matchup against Justin's Redskins. Shams Jets, they just got the force win over the Bengals. That was easy. What's not easy is traveling to Tampa Bay this week and taking on MVP's Bucks. The Bucks have been smashing everybody put in front of them, and unfortunately for my guy Sham, I think he might just be the next victim on the list. I think MVP wins this week and wins big and stays undefeated on the year. We have Johnny Parkhurst, New England Patriots. Johnny, you're another guy that if you want to tell me what I should call you on this show, feel free. But until then, I'm going to use your Facebook name. You're taking on Guru Saints. Guru hasn't won a game this year, but there should be an asterisk by that because he's lost to JD, and that was actually a forced loss because of his schedule, and he's lost 2 games to MVP. So a lot of guys would be 0-3 playing MVP twice in JD. I think Guru's a guy that I think we're going to learn a lot about Guru. He's 0-3. I think reality might be setting in that this isn't his year. He's seeing the Bucks have smashed him twice. He knows he really struggles to beat JD. So I think he's got some skill, though. Is he a guy that's going to try to fight his way out of this? Or is he just going to go through the motions? I'm not at all ruling out the fact that Johnny Parkhurst could beat him straight up. But I think we're going to learn a lot about Guru and what his mentality is. But I think the Patriots might win this game. And I'm going to pick them to do so. My division rivals get to 3-1 and a big start in Johnny Parkhurst's first 4 games in AFL. Luca's Colts look to bounce back after the loss to the Ravens last week, and they take on Swag's Browns, who are still looking for that first win of the season. I don't think they find it this week in Indianapolis. I think Luca gets back in the win column and starts the season off 3-1, and unfortunately for Swag's Browns, I think they start off 0-4 on the year. Cody's Chiefs travel to Mustang's Cowboys this week. Cody's had a pretty tough start to the year, had to be away for the first 2 weeks, and then lost his first user game last week by 4 points to the Patriots. Mustang, he's up, he's down, he's up, he's down. He was up week 1, down week 2, up week 3. Now we're in week 4, and I think I have to predict him to be down. I think the Chiefs get their first win of the season this week. In Dallas, Mustang will fall to 2-2, and Cody gets that first win and improves to 1-3 on the year. What a terrible schedule Shadow has had. Shadow and Joker should both be suing the AFL schedule makers for the starts they've had to their season. Shadow's had to play JD, Nino, and now he plays KJ, and he also played Cheese Jr. It's just a brutal start. KJ's 1-1 right now. I don't know what's going to happen against the Bears owner, but I do think he's going to beat Shadow. Shadow hasn't played this game much the last 5 or 6 months. He's rusty. I don't think that's a good sign against a guy like KJ. That is the guy, though, that Shadow beat in the Super Bowl in Season 1, but that was a long time ago. I think KJ's going to win and probably win big. My Bills take on Reese's Dolphins in a big matchup against AFC East rivals. I'm not going to predict my own game, but it should be fun. We have the CPU Texans going to get a forced loss against Danny Sanchez's 49ers. We have Justin Thomas's Redskins welcoming Mega's Broncos to town. And based on my predictions, I think this is going to be 2 winless teams doing battle in Washington. I think Justin's Redskins are going to get the win this week, though. They're going to find their way to the win column and go to 1-3. Now, they're not officially 1-2 yet. They still have to take on the Lions this week. This could easily bump the Redskins up to 2-2 if they beat the Lions. But I do think, regardless of record, they're going to beat Mega's Broncos at this point in time. We have a beauty in New York this week as I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, because I know Stokes is listening. He cringes every time I say in New York when it comes to the Giants or the Jets. We have a beauty in New Jersey this week as Bailey Seahawks travel to take on Cheesin's Giants. The Giants are 3-0. The Seahawks are 2-1. Both of these guys are guys that contend for Super Bowls, are probably going to be in the playoffs. This could be a matchup we see in the playoffs. I think Cheese wins this, though. He's playing at a high level right now. He's 3-0. I think he's really determined to get that bye. He's been bit hard by having to play the first round of the playoffs the last 2 years and has been matched up against the NFC North runner-up, which is a Super Bowl quality player, and they've proven that because they go on to make the Super Bowl. And KJ and Nino, both the years they beat Cheesin in the first round. I think Cheesin is desperate for that bye, and I think he's going to have a really strong regular season. And I think his 3-0 start becomes a 4-0 start with a win over the Seahawks this week. Another beauty in the AFC this time, Stokes' 3-0 Raiders take on Joker's 2-1 Steelers. I said earlier, if Joker can get to 3-1 after the horrible schedule he's had, that is championship level football. I think he's going to fall a little short, though. I think Stokes is a guy that has his numbers. I think the Raiders improved to 4-0. I think Joker falls to 2-2, but it's an impressive 2-2 when you look at who he had to start the season against. E-Dub's Titans travel to Jacksonville to take on SJR's Jaguars. The last time the Titans were in Jacksonville, they won on a Hail Mary, and then E-Dub went on to beat SJR in the rematch in Tennessee after that. I think E-Dub wins this. SJR's played him close, but SJR to me is a guy that's trending downward, and E-Dub is trending upward. Finished the season strong last year, was within an eyelash of going to the Super Bowl, and then he started off this year with 2 wins, and he plays Danny Sanchez week 3. I think he's going to get a win week 4 in Jacksonville. And then JD's Falcons on the road take on Shaker's Bears. I don't know anything about Shaker. I'm excited to see how he does against KJ. But just like my rationale with KJ, until I see something out of Shaker's, I know Nino says he's good. I just can't predict him to beat a guy in JD who's won a Super Bowl in this league and always makes the playoffs. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and lean on the Falcons on the road to beat the Bears and JD to improve to 3-1 on the season. Well, guys, that's a look at the Week 4 matchups. AFL Advance didn't take place between Week 2 and 3 with 24-hour advances. It was just too tough schedule-wise. I wanted to get this one out there. If you guys wonder why I'm whispering on AFL Advances when I do them on my PS4 mic, it's because where my PlayStation is set up is right next to my daughter's bedroom, and she's asleep right now, so I'm not really trying to wake her up and get her going. So this is the voice level. I did the one last time on the setup I used for the podcast, so I was able to talk a little louder, but I'm trying to mix it up to see what I like better going forward into Madden 17, so I'm trying a bunch of different things to see what the most convenient thing is. I really like the simplicity of doing it on the PlayStation, but the fact that I have to talk at a pretty low-key level makes it a little more frustrating. I don't know. I like to be able to enunciate, and when I have to talk at a controlled level, I feel like my words start slurring. So there's a little behind the scenes of the struggle that I'm going through right now. So anyway, guys, Advance is set for tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. I hope you all have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. You're getting some R&R, maybe a couple barbecues along the way, just some nice relaxation as summer is not officially here by the calendar, but it sure feels like summer as people are opening pools everywhere and it's swimming season. And I hope you guys, spend time with your families. The kids are out of school now, so Madden's fun, but remember where it ranks in life. And guys, thanks for always doing this. Thanks for giving us a reason to do these shows. The fact that we have 31 users at the end of May says a lot about the owners we have here. And that's a look at Week 4, and we'll see you next time.